So for my project, I did Iraq as a failed state. The background picture is a picture of Iraq. So what is a failed state? So the article describes a failed state nation that has problems with government, with people not enjoying, or with people not living a healthy lifestyle, with a poor economy and poverty, and bad relations with the rest of the world. And so actually a little bit more than 83% of our of the world lives in a warning nations or worse, which is including the people who live in Iraq. So a quote is, but when we don't also see the accompanying improvement on issues such as the protection of human rights and addressing grievances between groups, it is often those states where violence erupts most rapidly. And this is true because if the people are not safe and there is conflict, it's not going to be a peaceful place where an economy can grow and a government and the people can grow. So this is a little bit about Iraq, and so as you can see, they place really, really high, which is bad in all of the different categories, which makes Iraq the 13th failed state. And so you can see the indicator score and the total score of all the points as compared to Norway, which is like the least considered fragile state, where the numbers are less than or equal to 2. So what makes Iraq a failed state? And so one of the things is there's a people problem. There are many different ethnic groups within Iraq, which creates conflict when one tries to hold more power. There will be rebellions from the other groups, and there's conflict between the two amongst beliefs and different things in different regions of Iraq. So this has led to tension. There's also a low birth rate right now, and the population is falling, and so that leads to even more tension and problems because the people are not healthy, is one side of this. The people are not healthy enough to be having children, and there's not enough health care to take care of them, so the people are suffering, and then because of that, their population is suffering. And kind of what comes hand in hand is a birth growth that definitely helps boost an economy. So the government is also in a really interesting point right now. In 2003, a bunch of changes were made. And so as you can see by the highlighted, um, there's been only brief periods of like relief from all of this warring and conflict, which is really upsetting, and it's not a way for a country to grow. It actually means that a country is falling apart. Um, So, following the overthrow of the Ba'ath government in 2003, the United States and its coalition allies established this new sort of government with a new constitution and appointed 25 Iraqi governing council. So that pretty much kind of started out the government, and it has put a base. But since then, there's been a lot of um, discomfort and rebellions of the people who don't agree that it's should be like a Shia-led government. It should be, their own specific ethnic group. It doesn't really incorporate all the different people. And so, as you can see in the last one, this document established Iraq, meaning the Constitution, as a federal state, giving them some control over defense, their foreign affairs, and everything. As America has kind of their stepped out of their country and stopped running everything. So the economy is also kind of in a fragile state. And so oil production, economic development has declined at the start of the Iraq War because there's was an embargo on Iraq, which prevented a lot of countries from trading with them, which significantly impacted their economy for the worse. And so this would lead to, a high unemployment rate, which means that people are suffering again. There's not a private sector. It's a deteriorated infrastructure, as you can see, a high rate of inflation, and a shortage of replacement parts. So everything is kind of falling apart. There's not a lot there for them to work with, and they can't receive and give to the outside world, which would help them flourish and help the people flourish. So as you can see here, the UN had the embargo, which made travel to and from the country difficult, so they can't even have people going to visit outside the country or people who want to come in and help. There is, on the other highlighted, you can see the former Iraqi government sought to downplay unflattering demographic shifts, which also they they tried to highlight the things that were slightly growing, but are still not great. So these conflicts have left the country isolated from the international community and financially and socially drained. And so that's the real reason that Iraq is a failed state, is because the people are suffering internally and they don't have an economy that's stable or a government that's stable. And so things are on the verge of completely collapsing, and that is where terror kind of takes over. Leaders prey on bad, poor situations to come in and try and change everything and receive more power for themselves and not really helping the people. And so Iraq is kind of, for all of these reasons, in a failed state. So you can look at this. This is from the BBC. It's a brief overview of each, sort of category and why Iraq is not really doing so well. So in conclusion, Iraq is a failed state because it meets all the criteria set in the failed state article. The economy is not flourishing because of wars, oppressive regimes, and embargoes. The people are suffering from lack of human rights and living in a war-torn, aggressive state without the right health care. The government is holding on by a thread because of the threat of rebellion from other ethnic groups. So I hope that you have a better understanding about why Iraq is a failed state and you enjoyed this presentation. Thank you.